Hi folks, I'm Roger and this is Nigel from Offgrid Van Life, and in this episode we are going to take you through not a long video, but it'll be sufficient for you to be able to build your own battery at home if you want to. We're going to take you through all of the processes and what we do to build out a 100 amp hour battery. So these are 100 amp hour cells, these are EVE cells, and very good quality. All EVE cells, grade A cells, are very good quality. And we bought this case. This is a very, very common case. You find these all over the show. So we're going to take you through the process of how we actually build this out. Let's start by looking at the, let's just talk about the fact that these cells, when they are in the case, there's quite a lot of room. So you can't just have the cells sitting loose in this case. You can see on the one camera just how much space there is around. So we're going to show you how we fixed them or bound them in place, and then what we did to stop them moving about in the case. So we made these ends that we were going to bind these with. We did them with 3 lots of pliers. So each end has three lots of pliers. So the main bit here, and then we've got 2 strips that we glued on here. Basically, we've glued the 2 strips in here. The idea being that these will mount against here, or against, and then we'll bind them in the space below and above with fiber tape to keep it all together. And then we will bind the BMS onto one of these sides, and these slip quite nicely into the box, so you can see they fit in. There's no lateral movement. There will be longitudinal movement, but we'll show you how we're going to sort that out. But there's no lateral movement, so that'll keep everything nicely centralized and secure in the case. So let's get binding these and take it from there.
So we started by clamping the cells. We're not pushing too hard on these and creating a load of pressure, but it's basically enough just to hold them together. And once the fiber tape goes on, that should stop them from expanding too much and creating too much movement in the cells, which then obviously transfers to the terminals and can cause problems when things start to break, and that after multiple cycles, charge and discharge cycles. So yeah, we just put about 3 rounds around the cells with this fiber tape on the top, middle and on the bottom. So in this case we're just putting 3 sets of tape around the cells with the plier on either end.
Right, so we've bound, we've got 3 lots of fiber tape, 25 mil, 50 mil and 25. We could have put more here if we wanted to, but this will be fine just to keep these secure. The fiber tape is surprisingly strong, and these shouldn't, if the cells were trying to swell and expand, fiber tape will actually constrain them surprisingly well. So we'll make sure it fits into the box. So let's take it there and let's see. And that's beautifully snug. It's not going to move at all in the box there. So what we've done, as you can see, we've cut this with a sort of a castle sticking out here and here. And these will stop. If it is turned upside down, it should never be turned upside down, but in the event that the battery is turned upside down, these will rest on the lid so that all of these don't get pressure and there's no way that they can contact anything. So this is pretty good, a nice snug pack. So now we are going to attach the BMS. We're just going to turn this on its side, and then we'll tape the BMS on. Now, we have already terminated all of the balance leads, and we have extended 2 of them because they weren't long enough. So these are standard daily balance leads for 100 amp, which is a smaller plug than the usual, the 4S that you get with 200 and 150s, and it's a bigger plug here. I just want to talk very briefly about the fact that we've extended 2 of the balance leads. There is a theory out there that the balance leads all need to be exactly equal length. Not sure where that arose from, because all they do is actually measure the voltage. Actually, what they do is each balance lead measures the voltage from the negative to that particular balance lead, and then via subtraction they arrive at the voltage of the actual cell that that the particular balance lead is measuring. It doesn't do any fancy stuff about timing, how long it takes for the charge to go from the cell to the BMS. So there's nothing fancy like that. It would be crazy for the electrics that you have in here and the cost of what these are. Why would they want to time how long it takes for the electrical current to flow from the cell to the BMS? It would just be crazy. All they are doing is measuring voltage really simply, and the cells are outputting voltage all the time. There's never a time when the cell says, okay, I'll wait and then I'll send the current now and then the BMS can time it. That sort of stuff doesn't happen. And I mention that because there have been a number of theories out there and various people saying to us that we should not have different length balance leads. I think if you had one that was 10 meters and versus a few centimeters, then maybe there's a problem, but not very small differences like this. So we've extended 2 of them, and the others are the original length. Right, we will fasten these on. We're going to just plug in the Bluetooth dongle that we've mounted onto here, and we'll take you through the detail of everything shortly. So for the dailies, when you mount the Bluetooth dongle, the red goes closest to the temperature sensor. You shouldn't be able to turn these in the wrong way, but you never know. Sometimes you can force them in. So that's the way it goes. So what we're going to do is we're first going to take a little bit of, well, let's just bind this whole thing on here. Normally we'd bind the cables on here, but I think we're just going to bind this thing exactly as it is. These are the bus bars we were using, which came with the cells. They're quite small, dinky bus bars, and M5 screws, which we put nice little washers on. So these should work well to keep this all down. It's quite easy to cross thread these. So what I do is I turn it back until I hear the click. There we are, and then it goes nicely in.
This process is fairly straightforward, so it's basically just going through the sequence of marrying up all of the balance leads with the correct terminals and connecting those up. So obviously you can't turn the battery on until the balance leads are all connected. So what we usually do is actually unplug the balance leads. So that's what we did there just a minute ago, so that we could then fasten all of the screws into the terminals and putting the balance leads onto the correct terminals, and obviously making sure that they all nice and tight. We then had a cable that we had made up for the outside positive, which we put on with its balance lead as well, and that is what's going to connect to the top, the lid of the battery case. Went through and made sure everything was tight. You want to make sure that you don't over tighten these. So these sort of cells, you can strip the terminals fairly easily. So I just went over after my dad had gone through just to double check and make sure. You do want to make sure that they are all tight, because if you miss one and if it's not tight, that can be a point that can cause a problem or can create a buildup of heat.
Right, so 13.3.
Yeah, that's what this said.
And yeah, 0 amps at the moment. So that's all working fine. Move over to get into the frame properly.
A bit awkward, but not too bad.
Yeah.
All right, so unfortunately, we didn't realize, but the cameras had cut off when we were gluing the lid on. That's the joys of producing your own videos like this without somebody to actually watch the cameras from behind. But yeah, we're trying out some new glue to see how it works. So with this particular case, where it's different to our other ops range, where those cases the straps are attached to the bottom of the case. This one, obviously, the strap and the handles on these sides here are on the lid, so you have to have some pretty strong glue to be able to hold the whole thing together once it's built. So we're testing out some new glue here, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is basically the first version of our Ops 100 that we're going to be offering on our web store. This one's going to an existing customer that's bought a bunch of batteries from us. But yeah, there we go. That's our Ops 100. That's how you can build a 100 amp hour battery. Obviously, the size of this is tiny compared to a conventional lead acid. So it's like 26 centimeters in length, 25 centimeters in height, and 19, not even 18 centimeters in width. So it's a really small footprint. When you consider lead acid is probably another 10 centimeters at least in length, about the same width and height. And with this you get the equivalent capacity of 2 lead acid. And this battery will weigh under 10 kilos. It'll be like 9 point something kilos. So really attractive piece of kit when you consider the capacity and the size. All right, so there we go, 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery built into a battery case. Pretty pleased with how that turned out. I'm going to test to see how the glue does and how that performs. But yeah, I think it's pretty much ready to send out to the customer. So yeah, thanks for watching, folks, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.